Hello and welcome to a Christmas Eve edition of Knots Today with myself, Mark Shardlow. Thanks for joining us. It's nearly the big day, but first, here's what's on the show today. We've been to the last of more than 100 ice dips by a man raising thousands for hospice.
Well, yeah, I'm just getting some factor 15 on this. It's quite Baltic. It's cold. It just wants some gin in it and some tonic.
More on that shortly. Plus, it wouldn't be Christmas without a slice of politics thrown into the show. We'll be looking deeper into whether 2025 could mean the end for the current council structure in Nottinghamshire, with our district and borough authorities being scrapped for good. We've also got a festive lights display on the show for you, all to raise money for the Links and Knots Air Ambulance.
People give money to see if they like them and if they want to donate them to the air ambulance. They're amazing. Absolutely stunning.
And we'll be looking ahead to rock shows taking over Peggy's Skylight in Nottingham this week. Rockingham is a father and son act that's been rocking and rolling for nearly 17 years, and they'll join us later on to tell us how excited they are to take over the city venue on Friday. Plus, we've got the festive period, which means lots of football action for Forest. They're welcoming Spurs to the City Ground on Boxing Day.
I'm always confident since the beginning, and even last season, always confident that the good work and the dedication and commitment can achieve good results.
Well, all that and loads more coming up for you. But first, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, we met the inspiring Mark Walker from Worksop. Mark has spent 100 days dipping into ice for charity. And last night, he completed his final dunk. Mark, who's 62, has been raising money for the local children's hospice, Bluebell Wood, and has raised more than £9,000. Despite the freezing temperatures in the bath, he was met with a warm reception from his community as he went in for one last time, all while hearing some festive carol singing. Jordan Guerrero was there.
On a chilly Christmas evening, you might be pouring yourself a hot chocolate and sitting by a roaring fire with a good old festive film, but not for Worksop man Mark Walker. Instead, he's chosen to do an ice bath, but all for a very good cause. Over the past few months, he's raised nearly £10,000 by delving into the depths of freezing temperatures for a hospice he cares a lot about. Here he jumped into the ice for the final time of his fundraising challenge with a very warm community reception who sang Christmas carols. He even delivered a speech while in the ice and says it's been great to see such strong support for his efforts.
They've supported me all the way through it, and you do need support for a challenge like this. It's no mean feat. Well, yeah, I'm just getting some factor 15 on this. It's quite Baltic. It's cold. It just wants some gin in it and some tonic. Well, we've raised just over £9,000, and I've got a Just Giving page. So if you go on to justgiving.com and type in the top of the box, put in Mark Walker's / Morrison's with an S, together for short lives.
Bluebell Wood Children's Hospice helps thousands of unwell children every month, and this Christmas is unfortunately no different. Volunteer at the hospice Victoria Brooks has been working alongside Mark during his challenge. They shared a warm embrace after an emotional team effort to help children in most need of looking after.
Costs, £6-7 million a year to run that hospice and to support the families and the young children that are in the most horrific conditions of life. So people like Mark and everybody who supported him, you're an angel.
I love you.
Community champion, this lad.
It doesn't. It doesn't do anything by halves. It's, show-stopping is this, and it's like day before Christmas Eve.
One of the faces cheering him on is lifelong mate Craig Frost. He's suited up in his Santa Claus outfit for the momentous occasion and says Mark is a heart of gold.
People know him obviously around the area. That's all he does. He does everything for everybody else. Recognition, he should be a lot more from everybody. Yourself, you've got to get involved. But what he does, he's got an heart of gold.
Being an uncle to a niece that spent the time at Bluebell Wood, it's so important that we've got people like Scotty in the community.
While many will enjoy the warmth of family and roast dinners in their homes this Christmas, people like Mark would urge you to think about those less fortunate at times like these. Jordan Guerrero for Knots TV.
Shivering just watching that. Great work, Mark, and well done for those who've supported him. Right, it's time for our first chat of the show. And what's more festive than talking politics, eh? We're about to take a closer look at new government plans to potentially reform how local councils look right here in Notts. Currently, if you live in the county, you pay tax to district or borough councils and the county council too. But that could change soon as part of the Labour government's devolution plans. Instead, they could be replaced with new super councils. Though this is an issue that's been hotly contested here in Notts before. Joining me now to talk us through it is our news editor, Andrew Topping. Andrew, thanks for being with us. Just explain, first of all, what's the current structure of councils in Nottinghamshire?
So just to be clear, Mark, for any of our viewers that are watching in Nottingham, what I'm going to say in a minute is going to sound familiar. What I'm about to say now doesn't sound familiar at all. So in Nottinghamshire, that's everywhere apart from Nottingham, we have this two-tier system, as you've just mentioned. So that's where Nottinghamshire County Council, that's an upper-tier council, delivers services such as road repairs, education, social care, those sorts of big county-wide issues that affect everywhere from Mansfield to Bassetlaw to Rushcliffe. And they take 75% of your council tax bill. And then those areas that I mentioned there, you've got 7 district and borough councils. So that's Mansfield, Ashfield, Newark and Sherwood, Broxtowe, Bassetlaw, Gedling and Rushcliffe. I think I've said them all. I don't know whether I have. They are smaller local authorities that deal with the more hyper-local issues that happen in communities. So that's housing, planning applications, bin collections, those sorts of things. So they take a smaller chunk of your council tax bill, 10% or so, and they are the lower tier councils. So the argument is, why would you have 7 councils delivering the same service across Nottinghamshire when you could have 1 council delivering the same services across Nottinghamshire? So that's where the argument is for these super councils that we're going to get onto in a minute. So that's how it works in terms of Nottinghamshire. But the plan that we're going to get onto in just a moment is that, like in Nottingham, where there's 1 council that delivers all of these services in one place, they want to kind of go towards introducing this across the county.
Went through all of that with Nottingham some years ago. There's a lot of controversy, but the unitary authority finally happened. So why has it happened in Nottingham but it's not happened around the county?
It was an issue that was very much hotly contested up until as recently as 2020. So Kay Cutts, she's the former Conservative leader of Nottinghamshire County Council. This was her thing right at the end of her tenure when she was in control of the council. She said that, as I've just mentioned there, why would you have 7 councils delivering the same services, having a senior management structure that all pay really good salaries across the entire county, when you can deliver efficiencies and deliver it all in one place? So you've got 1 person that delivers the same thing across 7 authorities rather than 7 across 7. So that was her argument. But the argument against it was that there's not enough local representation. The district and borough councils across Nottinghamshire didn't like the idea of perhaps living in Worksop, for example, where we just were for Jordan's package, but services being decided on in West Bridgeford, which is the case now, and they thought local representation would get pulled away if you were to do this super council plan. So that's why kind of that argument back in 2020, as most recently as 2020, got pushed away, and it was that we stayed the way we are now.
So why has the Labour government brought it back on the table now?
So if our viewers will remember, we had the devolution election essentially in May this year, where we got the new county combined authority. Labour Mayor Claire Ward was elected. And she is going to get more powers, more funding, and the government wants to hand out, the Labour government wants to hand out more powers, more funding to local leaders, but they said that the current structure of 2-tier councils just isn't fit for purpose, essentially, because they want to have more of a structure around where the money's going to go if money and funding goes down to local leaders. It's only the problem here is that it's not the same kind of plans as what Kay Cutts came forward with. This would see larger super authorities, super councils created than the ones that were talked about during Kay Cutts' time. So 500,000 residents per council is what the government are talking about here. So Nottinghamshire's actual residency is 800,000. So you might even look at some of the residents getting pulled into Nottingham City to make up that number. So this is something that's going to take a little bit of consideration.
Yeah, you get the sense that it's not going to go down well in certain quarters. How has the white paper been received by local politicians?
You're absolutely right. So it depends on whether you're talking from a county level or a district and borough level. So I'll start with the county. Kay Cutts, we contacted her. She was very much in favour of this. She said that if it delivers efficiencies, you can even sell off the headquarters of the councils to make some money back off of the top of it. Her successor, Ben Bradley, who most recently stepped down from the top of the county council start of this month, he said that it's obviously good for efficiencies, as Kay Cutts said, but appreciated the arguments against for local representation. Adrian, and Sam Smith, which is his successor, said that he would support it if it benefits local taxpayers. But if you get into the district and borough level, Jason Zadrozny, who leads Ashfield District Council, said that it would be disastrous for the good work that his council does. And Milan Radulovic, who's the Labour leader of Broxton Borough Council, even described his own party's plans as dictatorship.
Plenty of arguments to come there. Andrew, thank you very much. That's one to watch in 2025. Right, let's take in some of your news headlines now. First, two brothers who left a man with serious injuries during a street attack in Arnold have been locked up. The victim was punched, stamped on and kicked on Front Street back in February this year by brothers Jay Rees and Jushawn Redmond after he tried to stop their attack on a woman. 21-year-old Jay Rees of High Street in Heanor and 18-year-old Jushawn of Birchfield Road in Arnold, both admitted to GBH with intent. Jay Rees was jailed for 6 years and Jushawn was sent to a Young Offenders Institute for 5 years. Next, police have launched an appeal after chains, necklaces, bracelets and pocket watches were all found at a Beeston address. Officers seized a large number of items they suspected as stolen and have released the images showing on your screens right now in case anybody recognises them as missing. Police believe they've been taken as part of a series of burglaries and say that anyone who wants to claim them can call officers on 101, quoting incident 33 of September the 9th. A full list of items is on the Force's website under the news section. Right, let's take a short break now. I'll be back shortly with a bumper sport coming right up for you, including Forest County Stags and the Panthers are all playing on Boxing Day. That's coming up next. Hello and welcome back to a Christmas Eve edition of Not Today with myself, Mark Shardlow. Here's some of your news headlines on Tuesday. First, and the company that runs Nottingham's tram network has reported losses of more than £26 million. Documents published on Companies House reveal Tramlink Nottingham Limited made losses of £26.2 million in the 12 months to March this year. But the figures actually decreased by more than half the same number for the previous financial year, when losses were £57.1 million. The company says it's operating from a robust position with passenger numbers and turnover on the rise. Next, plans have been forward for an indoor rock climbing centre in Nottingham. The Climbing Hangar, which is a UK-based bouldering gym chain, has submitted plans for a new facility on Crocus Street. Planning papers say the facility will replace an electrical store and will feature a bouldering wall, an office, reception, cafe and changing rooms. The application was submitted to Nottingham City Council earlier this month and it forms part of a wider regeneration for the city's canal area. It'll be decided on by the authority at a later date. Right, let's move on now. And if you've driven through the village of Fiskerton this month, you may have already seen this next story. That's because we're about to meet husband and wife Jeff and Diane Pogson, who've illuminated their front garden once again for the Christmas period. But it's not just for fun, because they've been encouraging people to come and have a look, yes, but also donate money to the Vital Links and Notts Air Ambulance. Our reporter Sam Jones has been down to see the festive display.
Santa's sleigh looks slightly different on this garden in Fiskerton. It's not because it's filled with presents and heading off to homes across the world, but because these lights are helping to raise money for the Links and Notts Air Ambulance. They're the tradition of Jeff Pogson and his wife Diane. The couple first started displaying lights about 10 years ago after entering a Christmas light competition in the village, and now it's become an annual event.
Got bigger and bigger every year and there are things have been added this year, like the swan and the little dog down there, and the 6 snowflakes over the corner, which all work together, and also another tree there, and these stakes out on the front down here. Well, it's quite nice because we come out to talk to some of them as well, and we can see them. We can see them from the window as well in the house, and it's just nice, and they all sort of seem to have a nice time and come with the grandparents and just have a look.
And the lights certainly bring Christmas cheer to people walking or driving by this busy village road.
People give money to see if they like them and if they want to donate them to the air ambulance. They're amazing. Absolutely stunning. Red lamppost with a snowman in. So yeah, that's so nice.
One is the what are these?
The stick of
I like the robins too.
Yeah.
Since 2020, Jeff and Diane's display has raised about £4,000 for charity, and so far, more than £600 have been raised this year. It's all for a relatively cheap cost too, with the thousands of LED lights only costing about £2.40 a day. And for the air ambulance, fundraising like this is vital. The organisation needs £4,000 for each mission in the ambucopter, which equates to around £13 million a year.
So as a charity, we receive no direct government funding for our services. This year, we've actually attended just shy of 1,700 potentially life-saving missions this year. And it's all thanks to amazing supporters like Jeff and Diane and all their team in the background that help on these amazing light displays. Our crews will still be operational. We'll still have that 24/7 critical care service. Over Christmas, when we're all tucked up with our hot chocolates in front of the fire, we've got an amazing crew that are there should anybody need our services.
The lights here will be lit until around the 3rd of January, so there is still plenty of time for you to see Santa and all the spectacular scenes here on Station Road. Sam Jones for Notts TV.
They look great, don't they? Right, time for your extended sport now. Ahead of some key Boxing Day action. We're starting with Nottingham Forest, who head into Christmas in the Premier League top 4, following some fine form in recent week. That includes the big win away at Brentford last time out, ended the Bees' unbeaten home record in the league. The Reds are facing Spurs at the City Ground on Thursday, off the back of Tottenham's 6-3 loss at home to Liverpool on Sunday. Speaking to the media, Forest head coach Nuno Espirito Santo has been explaining how they're preparing.
Work. We work on the morning, and then we're gonna have lunch with our families and come to the game, next day. I'm always confident since the beginning, and even last season, always confident that the good work and the dedication and commitment can achieve good results, and this is what we are. And I'm very proud of the players, of the way they are working every day, staying humble and recognizing that we have a lot of things to improve and a long way to go. Merry Christmas to everybody, healthy, enjoy your time with the families, and come to City Ground.
Into League One, and Mansfield Town are also in action on Boxing Day when they travel to Peterborough. The Stags have picked up 4 points from their last 2 league games, coming through a 0-0 draw away at Charlton and then a 1-0 win over Rotherham at Field Mill on Saturday. Mansfield manager Nigel Clough says his players have picked up some form just at the right time, heading into a crunch festive period with another 4 games to play in the league by January the 4th. He's been talking about the threat Peterborough pose.
Yeah, against you look at the fixtures. We've looked at the last sort of 10 or whatever, and the quality of the teams that we're playing, and it's no different in the next 4 now. You know, we go to Peterborough and then to Reading, Bolton, and then Stockport. So important 4 games for us. Unbelievably tough run. But the one thing we've learnt in the first 19 games is that we can compete, and if we do everything well, I don't think that's a surprise. I think when you had such a good season as they did last season, then you sell major players, and I think they brought in millions in the summer, and they have this model, then it's almost a cycle of every couple of seasons or something, because all the youngsters they've got in now will be benefiting from the time on the pitch, and I would really fancy them, if not this season, for next season.
Notts County have also got 4 games to play in the league between now and early January, and they also started on the road on Boxing Day. They're travelling to an MK Dons side that lost 6-3 away at Northampton on Saturday, Newport on Saturday. Meanwhile, the Pies won their weekend game 3-0 at home to Bradford. Speaking after that result, County defender Matty Platt confirmed head coach Stuart Maynard has been giving the squad some time off on Christmas Day, but said his focus will be on the trip to the Dons once he's tucked into his Christmas dinner.
Yeah, we are. I think the gaffer's been kind to us. He's given us Christmas Day off, so I'll get back probably Christmas Eve and spend Christmas morning, maybe afternoon, and then I'll probably travel back to Notts Christmas night and get a good night's rest ahead of Boxing Day. Yeah, as I say, it's going to be a busy period for us, but yeah, one we're all looking forward to, and I think a result like that it's good to give everyone a bit of a lift, and especially going into a busy period. We know a lot of points are up for grabs, and yeah, that was a good start today.
On to ice hockey, and there's also Boxing Day action for the Nottingham Panthers when they travel to arch rivals the Sheffield Steelers. That's the first of 6 games between now and January the 5th, which also includes welcoming the Steelers to Nottingham on Saturday, the traditional Christmas game, and another home game against the Coventry Blaze on New Year's Eve. There's a trip to the Blaze on New Year's Day to follow, and the Panthers will finish their festive period with a home game against Glasgow Clan on January the 4th before travelling to the Cardiff Devils a day later. All those games are in the Elite League. But if you can't wait for that, we've got our own ice hockey action for you on Christmas Day here on Notts TV. That's when we'll be showing all the goals from the side's 6-4 win over Guildford on Saturday. All 10 goals will be shown on this channel from 9 p.m. And if you missed that on Christmas Day, you can get some Boxing Day ice hockey when it repeats, and that's at 11:30 in the morning. That's here on Notts TV. It might be the season for football and ice hockey, but preparations are also ongoing for the new cricket season too. And that's the case at Trent Bridge, where Notts have been undergoing pre-season planning ahead of the new campaign in April. They've already finished their first block of winter training, and in a new interview, their assistant head coach Paul Franks says he's been impressed with his players' work ethic.
Good, busy, certainly lots to think about after the end of the season, and lots of stuff to address individually. Pleased to say that the work ethic's been excellent. The guys have been open-minded to some new ideas, and as we come into the Christmas break, really excited to get started again in 2025. There's lots to consider, and it takes time to work it out. Obviously, we're only limited by what we can do indoors, and a lot of it is more around how we think about what we're doing and how we try to implement our mindset moving into the new year. And we're fortunate enough to have a pre-season tour in March, and that'll be the first chance we get to get on the grass as a group and really start to think about the areas we want to improve on.
We've got some rugby too over Christmas, and Nottingham will be looking to bounce back from defeat when they welcome Coventry to the Bay on Saturday. The Archers lost on the road to Hartpury last time out and face a Coventry side who lost last time out themselves when they were beaten away by the Cornish Pirates. Nottingham go into the fixture in 5th place while Coventry are 2nd. The game at the Bay kicks off at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and it's the last time that the Archers will play there until January the 18th. And lastly in the sport, some netball. Nottingham Forest's new club have confirmed season tickets are on sale ahead of their inaugural season, which starts in March. They'll join the Super League and play their home games at the Motorpoint Arena, and they start with a visit from the Cardiff Dragons on March the 21st. That'll start the first of 7 home games. More details on season tickets can be found on the club's website. Time for a look at your picture of the day now. A fantastic festive shot of our very own Victoria Shopping Centre. Thanks to Wondrous You Kingdom for this. And as for your weather, it's looking less like a white Christmas and more of a grey one. We've seen highs of 11 degrees with lows of 10 tonight. All that is very mild for Father Christmas. As for the big day tomorrow, grey and cloudy with highs of 11 and lows of 9. And then looking ahead to Boxing Day, it's very similar, overcast skies with highs of 11 degrees and lows of 9. Right, let's take another short break now, but don't go away anywhere, as we'll be catching up with a band playing 2 gigs at Peggy's Skylight later this week. Plus we've got loads more Notts news coming up too, and your festive What's On guide. All that next. Hello and welcome back to a Christmas Eve edition of Notts Today with myself, Mark Shardlow. Hope you're doing well. Here's what's happening in our county. First, Mansfield District Council has appointed a new chief executive after its last one left to join Rushcliffe Council. James Biddleston was confirmed as the authority's new CEO at an extraordinary full council meeting last week. It follows a call by the district's mayor to appoint somebody homegrown, with Mr Biddleston working within the council since 2019. He'll take on the job from February the 3rd and replaces Adam Hill, who's taking over as the most senior officer at Rushcliffe Borough Council. Next, a new research has uncovered more information about the deaths of men whose skeletons were found on a medieval battlefield in Notts. Bones belonging to around 7 people were discovered near the village of East Stoke near Newark in the 1980s. It's believed all were killed at the Battle of Stoke Field, fought nearby in 1487. now kept in storage, the remains have featured before on Notts TV's Rediscovering Notts history programme. They were recently re-examined by the University of Nottingham experts, who discovered one of the dead was likely just 16 or even younger. Now it's Christmas Eve, so you'll probably be at home tonight or in the pub. Let's see how you can celebrate Boxing Day with our What's On guide in advance. First, the Nottingham Playhouse still has its panto. Oh yes, it does. It's Jack and the Beanstalk this year, a fun twist on a classic fairy tale, with 2 showings a day and tickets ranging from £37 to £55. Next, the Four Bells Inn in Woodborough is hosting a Boxing Day brunch, so if you're looking for some good food and drink and an excuse to get out of the house, that's running from 10 in the morning until 5 p.m. And for you partygoers, Rock City will have its Boxing Day Bedlam event for some festive fun. It's a late one though, starting at 10 p.m. Tickets there are a £5. So that's what's happening over the next few days, but we've got something else for you now as we chat to my next guest. When I say they'll have you rocking around the Christmas tree, I really mean it, because this Friday, Rockingham will be at Peggy's Skylight, bringing you the best hits from doo-wop to rockabilly, with covers of 50s classics and original songs too. The father and son band formed back in 2008 and have since played more than 600 venues, bringing a blast from the past wherever they go. Father and son Kev and Dion Marlowe join us in a second, but first here's some of their last performance at Peggy's Skylight.
Day, why do you want? I don't want no aeroplane. Why do you want? Don't want no house in Spain. Why do you want? You want to drink no pink champagne? Why do you want? But I don't day. You don't want this. You don't want that. Tell me why. Well, you got plenty of.
Well, we saw you there playing. How would you describe your music, Kev?
50s, but all genres of the 50s. Rockabilly, rock and roll, blues, swing, jazz, anything that they played in the 50s, basically, yeah.
How did you get into it?
Well, I was almost there. I was born in the 60s. But yeah, I've always grew up listening to stuff like Elvis, and I've never really liked anything else other than the 50s music.
So, but Dion, you're a bit younger, yeah. How did you get into it?
I think I had no choice really. I was sort of grew up with it, with what you was playing, and then you started taking me to rock and roll shows.
Yeah, you heard nothing else, did you really? So
No,
it was,
no.
You had no choice.
I've got my own mind now, but I still it's rock and roll. That's all I like and sort of listen to, isn't it? Really. So. Yeah.
And even your name, Dion, I mean, that's a 50s sort of name, is it? Are you named after Dion, the Wanderer?
Yeah, Bellamucci, Dion of the Belmonts, yeah. It just seemed a cool name. Not many people called Dion. Is it all right? Are you all right with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it'll do. It'll do.
That's good to know. What's the sort of 50s scene like these days?
It varies where you are. In this country itself, I mean, since COVID, I think a lot of music is sort of took a downward slide. But in this country, it's more dance orientated. You have a lot of dance clubs, jiving and what have you. But when you go to Europe, it's more of a broader spectrum, sort of more vintage. People watching and appreciating the music more.
Yeah, and I'd say probably more like a festival vibe. There's a lot more sort of music festivals, town squares, putting on sort of vintage festivals sort of thing.
So where do you go with your band?
Pretty much everywhere in Europe. We've gone Germany, Italy, Spain. We're in the Netherlands early next year, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody that'll have us, really.
Is it purely nostalgia, or is there a modern side to 50s music as well?
Oh, there's a modern side. I mean, I would say 40% of what we play are what we wrote ourselves. And there's a lot of up and coming younger people that do it in their own style. I mean, obviously it's still 50s based, but yeah, people are coming up with their own songs a lot of the time.
And using inspiration from 50s artists.
Ray Collins Hot Club, I mean, they're a band that play all over the world, slightly more swingy, but everything they do is what they've wrote themselves, isn't it? Yeah.
And how much do you two write?
It's probably about 40% of our set is our own material,
yeah.
What influences then, of people who are coming along to Peggy's Skylight, what influences will they hear there? Who are the sort of musicians from the 50s that you'll recognise?
Well, we do try and try and find the rarer stuff that people. I mean, we do a few standards as well. I mean, we do a few Elvis Presley songs, and then we do some doo-wop songs. But yeah, Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, all the classics. But then we do try and look for slightly different. I mean, the Jive Aces who play Peggy's quite a few times with their swing style, we're influenced quite a bit by those as well.
And Peggy's Skylight, it's more an intimate sort of venue. It's going to be an interesting one on Friday.
It is. It's we did it for the first time in February, and we're not used to playing sort of audiences so close to us, are we?
Eating.
But it's a really nice experience actually.
And
it was an experience, and an experience I enjoyed. I think even this time I'll be more relaxed because it was so new to us.
Yeah.
It just seemed a bit bizarre last time, but yeah, it's a lovely, lovely venue, and it just, because the audience are so close, there's just a nice atmosphere.
It's nice to see the venue putting on so many different styles of music as well, sort of keeping music alive. There's not many music venues doing this.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, you've got 2 shows on Friday, 6 and 9. The doors are opening. Looking forward to hearing how it goes. And can I wish you both a happy Christmas?
Yeah, happy Christmas to everybody out there.
Right, time for another look at your top story of the day. And you might remember a couple of weeks ago, we met the inspiring Mark Walker from Worksop. Mark has spent 100 days dipping into ice. He's doing it for charity, and last night he did one final dunk. It's to raise money for the Bluebell Wood Children's Hospice, and Mark, who's 62, has raised more than £9,000. The bathwater may have been freezing, but the reception he got was very warm as he went in for one final time. And whilst this was going on, carols were being sung, and Jordan Guerrero was there for us.
On a chilly Christmas evening, you might be pouring yourself a hot chocolate and sitting by a roaring fire with a good old festive film, but not for Worksop man Mark Walker. Instead, he's chosen to do an ice bath, but all for a very good cause. Over the past few months, he's raised nearly £10,000 by delving into the depths of freezing temperatures for a hospice he cares a lot about. Here he jumped into the ice for the final time of his fundraising challenge with a very warm community reception who sang Christmas carols. He even delivered a speech while in the ice and says it's been great to see such strong support for his efforts.
They've supported me all the way through it, and you do need support for a challenge like this. It's no mean feat. Well, yeah, I'm just getting some factor 15 on. It's quite Baltic. It's cold. It just wants some gin in it and some tonic. Well, we've raised just over £9,000, and I've got a Just Giving page. So if you go on to justgiving.com and type in the top of the box, put in Mark Walker's / Morrison's with an S, together for short lives.
Bluebell Wood Children's Hospice helps thousands of unwell children every month, and this Christmas is unfortunately no different. Volunteer at the hospice Victoria Brooks has been working alongside Mark during his challenge. They shared a warm embrace after an emotional team effort to help children in most need of looking after.
Costs, £6-7 million a year to run that hospice and to support the families and the young children that are in the most horrific conditions of life. So people like Mark and everybody who supported him, you're an angel.
I love you.
Community champion, this lad.
It doesn't. It doesn't do anything by halves. It's show-stopping is this, and it's like day before Christmas Eve.
One of the faces cheering him on is lifelong mate Craig Frost. He's suited up in his Santa Claus outfit for the momentous occasion and says Mark is a heart of gold.
People know him obviously around the area. That's all he does. He does everything for everybody else. Recognition, he should be a lot more from everybody. Yourself, you've got to get involved. But what he does, he's got an heart of gold.
Being an uncle to a niece that spent the time at Bluebell Wood, it's so important that we've got people like Scotty in the community.
While many will enjoy the warmth of family and roast dinners in their homes this Christmas, people like Mark would urge you to think about those less fortunate at times like these. Jordan Guerrero for Knots TV.
Some travel now, and Nottingham tram operator Net is reminding you of changes to Christmas and New Year timetables, and there are big alterations for buses too. On the trams there's a normal service today, but on Christmas Day no services at all before a Sunday service runs on Boxing Day. On the buses it's a normal timetable until 8 p.m. tonight, but there are no services at all on Christmas Day or Boxing Day for NCT. And East Midlands Railway will stop again at 8 o'clock tonight with no trains tomorrow or Boxing Day. Next, an Ashfield dog breeder has been banned from operating after a court heard concerns about animal welfare. 62-year-old Tracy Hovell claimed to be the UK's top breeder of Labradoodles and made more than £140,000 selling puppies. But an investigation by Ashfield District Council found Hovell, who's formerly of Parkway in Sutton but now lives in Worksop, committed several offences, including failing to provide fresh, clean drinking water and not preventing the spread of infectious diseases. She was also fined in the court last week. One final break now, and we're going to hear from Wet 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 in a moment. Hello and welcome back to Tuesday's show. It's Christmas Eve and here's what's happening in Notts today. First, workers started to refurbish the windows of the 464 apartments in the Victoria Centre flats. The flats are the tallest building in the city. They were completed more than 5 decades ago. The project is expected to reduce carbon emissions by refurbishing the site's 5,000 windows rather than replacing them. It'll make each flat more thermally efficient. The work will take around a day for each apartment. Next, £175,000 has been spent throughout this year on improving parks in Rushcliffe. The Borough Council says vital refurbishments have taken place at play areas, including Rushcliffe Country Park, Boundary Road and Greythorn Park in West Bridgford and our Bolton Lane in Lady Bay. It's part of a project by the authority to introduce more inclusive equipment like seesaws, wheelchair accessible roundabouts and dynamic rope swings, with the council saying more spending is coming next year too. Sticking with councils, and we're at the end of the year, so a Christmas and New Year message has been issued by the new County Council leader Sam Smith. He's been wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and promised a new year of ensuring residents' priorities are met, including maintaining libraries, improving youth services and fixing roads. Here's what he had to say heading into Christmas Day.
It's also a time that we can look forward to what we can do in 2025. Here at the County Council, we'll be focused on continuing to deliver on the priorities of Nottinghamshire residents and building on our proud track record, whether that's libraries in every community, youth services being enjoyed by children across the county, the £66 million we're investing into repairing your roads, or the £100 million capital programme that we're investing in communities like yours. There are challenging times ahead for councils right across the country, but here at Nottinghamshire County Council we have a well-managed budget, and I look forward to working with you, the residents of Nottinghamshire, but also my colleagues here at the County Council to build on our successes of the previous years and continue to make Nottinghamshire an even better place to live, work and visit during 2025 and the years ahead. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
County Council leader Sam Smith. Right, it's time for another look at something we've discussed on the show this year, and that was when the lovely Helen Barnes over at Loving 80s Music chatted with a musical legend ahead of his band's show in Nottingham in a few weeks' time. Helen caught up with Graham Clark, who's the bassist of the rock band Wet 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 and the band's only remaining original member. They're bringing hits including Love Is All Around and Sweet Little Mystery to the Royal Concert Hall on the 3rd of February with special guest Heather Small. Here's what Graham had to say to Helen, including working out what our iconic Notts lingo, "A up me duck," means.
And it's great that you keep coming back to Nottingham. You do like it in the East Midlands, don't you?
We do. I mean, listen, it's a privilege to play anywhere, you know. Open the fridge door, man, we would be there, you know what I mean? So, no, listen, it's great. That's the perks of the job, to meet guys like yourself. You know, we don't often get to the peripheral cities in the UK, but when we do, it's, you know, it's nice to go to London and all the big major cities, but it's also nice to go to the provinces as well, I think, you know, and it's important, you know, to
Absolutely.
get.
We've got loads of wet fans here in Nottingham. Now, when we saw you in Leicester, you were with Go West. When we see you in Nottingham, you've got Heather Small, which is amazing as well. Do you get to choose? Do you have to like pitch to your management about who you might tour with? How does this work?
No, absolutely. I mean, you know that, and you've been doing these festivals too, that lots of these guys that are on there, Heather was on a few of the shows that we were on, so you get to say hello. And so, you know, we had a good time with Go West, and we thought that was great because it was like it was a double bill,
Yeah.
and you know, it adds a value to the show. And I think people saw that they were getting good value for
Yeah.
their money, seeing two really good acts. So that was the conversation was coming off the back of Go West, we need somebody good to come and open the show. And that's where meeting guys like Heather on these festivals is great. So luckily, you never know. Some people don't want to do that. You know, some people want to go out on their own, but Heather was up for it. And when they asked the question, it was she said yes, and so that's why we've got a brilliant show lined up.
You guys are doing amazingly. You're headlining festivals everywhere, aren't you? You're headlining
We are.
rewinds and things like that. And you know, it is. I love coming to see. I love seeing. I love it when you have your little solos, Graham, and I love the cheer from the crowd because you are, you know, the only original member now. So you must be getting all of the love, really. Well, I know like Kev and the others do, but like we focus most of our love on you, Graham.
That's good to hear. I need it. No, but yeah, I mean, Graham Duffin, who's the guitarist, he's been the constant.
Sorry,
as
yes,
well.
I always forget.
I know, and in my life too. You know, well, Graham was the new guy, believe it or not, in 1983. You know, so listen, it's one of these things where, yeah, as I said, there's a bit of an adjustment, but we've adjusted. We're enjoying being out on the road. You know, I think these songs they still have life in them.
People won't believe when they come and see you how many amazing hits there are. It's just one after the other, like every single song we know and every single song we can sing along to. It's incredible.
Well, we deliberately do that now, you know. I mean, we don't have this. I mean, I saw REM talking about, you know, and they're not together anymore, but they went through a similar period where they all kind of fell out. And he said, never mind getting the set list together, we couldn't decide what restaurant we were going to eat. You know, we couldn't even come to that decision together. Now, it gets like that. I understood that. It gets like that in a band sometimes. But now we know what we have. We know what we want to do. You know, we want to play the music that people want to hear. You know, they want the hits.
They do.
Who am I to say, you know, if a song is a hit, suddenly you go, oh yeah, that is a great song, isn't it? You know, a lot of people agree with me, you know. So I mean, that's the whole nature of where we want to go out, we want to play the songs that people know us by, and we want to have a sing song.
Well, finally, you are coming to the East Midlands, so you need to know a little bit of our dialect that we have here in Nottingham.
Yes.
If you were to hear, like, "Hey up, me duck," would you have any idea what that meant?
Hey up, me duck. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's so, you know, we have a certain vernacular in Scotland as well, where unless you come from, you grow up, you know, what's for you? You know what I mean? That's one that we use. I imagine that, what did you say? Hey up, duck?
Hey up, me duck.
Hey up, me duck. That means hello and how are you doing, right?
Wow.
I think his Nottingham is better than my Scottish. Wet. And Heather Small coming to the Royal Concert Hall early February. Right, so from something happening in the city in a few weeks' time to something tucked away in a pub that could be about to go international. And that's the Scare Electric model of Nottingham nestled into the back of the Green Dragon pub in Long Row, which lets people tour around the city and go past landmarks like Bulletin Hall and the Old Market Square. The man behind it's been approached to do similar models elsewhere in the world and turn his hobby into a full-time job. Issy Fekulak went down to give it a spin back in October.
And they're off. For the last 12 years, nestled in the back of this Nottingham pub is an iconic Scalextric model of the city. Made for fun by local Tom, this track is surrounded by Nottingham landmarks like the City Ground, our iconic bridges, the old trip to Jerusalem and so many more. Now his talent has been recognised by international corporations like Red Bull, and he's created F1 racetracks, turning his hobby into a full-time job.
I come from an arts background. Myself and a couple of friends used to hook up, watch the F1 every Sunday. If you'd asked a 12-year-old me if I could play Scalextrics as a career, I wouldn't have believed it at all. We also have two other strands to the business. One is that we hire tracks to various events, so that could be exhibitions, and we also get commissions to build tracks for other people. In our workshop, we're constantly making new tracks for different clients or model dioramas. The furthest we've been is Abu Dhabi for the Grand Prix.
And that's just the beginning. Next, they have this model commissioned to go to Poland. In the new year, they'll be working on upcoming projects in Madrid, Bremen in Germany, and even Dubai. They've had success on home turf too, as last year they got to the finals of the Midlands Family Business Awards. And Tom's not the only one behind the wheels of the business. His daughter Faye plays a vital role too.
I sometimes help with making some of the models down at our workshop. I basically run the race nights on the first Tuesday of every month. From 7:30 to 8:30 there's the practice races, and so everyone has to sign up before and get the names in, and you can bring your own car if you want to.
And now it's time for me to take to the tracks.
Accelerator, buttons on the back, that's your brake button, cool. And that's your change lanes.
This miniature version of our city has taken Tom and Faye on a ride that they're not ready to finish yet. Izzy Fekulak for Notts TV.
Definitely one worth going to see at the Green Dragon pub. Right, let's take a last look at your picture of the day now. A great festive shot of our very own Victoria Centre. Thanks to Wondrous You Kingdom for this. And as for your weather, there's going to be no white Christmas this year, sorry about that. In fact, it'll be one of the mildest ones. Today has seen highs of 11 with a low tonight of 10 degrees. Christmas Day itself is looking like it'll be grey and cloudy with highs of 11 and lows of 9. Pretty similar too for Boxing Day. And that's the end of the show. Thanks to our great guests and everyone who's contributed to Notts Today. Time for a Christmas break for us, and from everyone here at Notts TV, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and say thank you for being with us. Enjoy your Christmas day. I'm Mark Shardlow. Goodbye.